I've lost my attention span and I can't find it anywhere. And the reason that I wanted to talk about that is I'm hearing a lot about that from all over. And uh, two things about that is some people see it as a problem and some people don't. And I think that's interesting to put on the table, that you could hold the fact you have no attention span at this time, and it could just, I want you to see that it's on the table, that you could just pick your experience about having an attention span and not having one. That was the place I wanted to start, because if you're holding your attention span as a problem, and if it's a problem for you, then the mind tends to make it a problem about you. And you turn into a problem that needs to be solved. That would lead us into how we're going to talk about the topic today, because it's curious, like, from where you sit right now, where do you think your attention span went? Is it different than it was before being quarantined? Is it different than ever before? Or just, where do you think it went? So if a couple of you could just speak briefly, a couple of sentences on what you're noticing about your attention span and what your kind of position is on it and what drew you to the call. I've got lots of stuff to talk about, but I'd love to see if it goes. Beth. Okay. Where'd you go, Beth? There you are.
I'm
okay.
Right here. Can you
Great.
hear me?
I can. Good to see you.
It's good to see you. Well, Cherie, this could have been any topic and I would have joined. So I'm just glad to be here, because my work schedule just happens to allow for me to be present today.
Oh, excellent.
But I think my attention span is disappeared, and I'm grateful for that, because I'm not busy. Like the running around, the busyness, the, oh my gosh, I have to do this, the routine, I have to get up, I gotta, get my way to work. The rushing is gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore I'm looking at what's right in front of me and enjoying the present moment. Now, there are some things that I have to pay attention to and get, like, my work schedule figured out, just the logistics for that. But yeah, it's just, I think it's gone, and I really like it.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. Thanks, Beth. So that is an excellent perspective of just to say what's on the table. Lisa.
If I never had to pay attention to what day it is or what time it is, that would be my natural state. I'd be happy as a clam. And it's always a struggle for me. I really have to orient myself. Today's Monday, today's Friday, and so I could very well melt into this, but I'm finding that because I'm working, I do have to orient myself, and I have to do it even harder now that this COVID thing came in. Mm-hmm. And I think it has to partly do with, my workspace is my home life, and so I don't even fully understand why it's like this. I think part of it is my brain cells are not used to doing all this online stuff, and it's cognitively tiring. And so, so I'm having to work extra hard to focus, when really I would prefer to not have to focus on those kinds of things. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you. And Marcia.
Um, I liked what Beth said. Like, I would have joined this call no matter what the topic was, and so I saw what the topic was, and it was perplexing to me because I don't have any feelings about my attention span one way or the other. I mean, it's not any different. I mean, my life is completely different. I don't have a job anymore because of the COVID. And the only thing I have to pay attention to is what time it is for my Zoom meetings. That's the thing I have to do, and to try and get my walks in before it's too hot. And before that, I had to pay, I had to go to work and focus on a whole lot of details, but I'm not having any problem or concern. My attention span it's perfectly fine the way it is.
Excellent. Excellent. What I'm finding so funny too with some of my leadership clients, now their complaint is like, really, people, you can't make it to a meeting on time via Zoom? What are you doing? So I think it's like traffic's off the table, all this stuff's off the table, and you people can't get to a meeting on time. I think that is so funny going, yeah, it is pretty perplexing. So like with what I was thinking too was like, regardless of our experience around what condition my condition is in, so to speak, around attention span, is whether we're in our BC before Corona life or AC after Corona life, that what you can notice, you can notice that with a lack of attention span, or even that inability to stay on task or maybe stay on point, maybe you get a little antsier sooner than before. Maybe you just, you just feel like maybe on the inside you're revving at a little higher bzzz than before. Now, the reason why I wanted to talk about that was because regardless of if we're in a time of quarantine or not in a time of quarantine, I think that's a really good kind of a barometer to feel how the buzz of the vibe is on the inside for you. It's your relationship with this buzz kind of pace on the inside. And so, like nowadays, as it appears to me, and I've been looking in the direction of lost my attention span, I think it's directly related to the volume of input we allow in our life. I think truly as human beings, and for each one of us is different, but I think the volume of input that we allow to come at us is where we need to be kind of the gatekeeper of, am I feeling, what's my feeling state? Am I feeling like I'm walking into rooms and not knowing why I'm there? I start something and I don't know why I'm here. I don't know why I can't find my checkbook or find my debit card or find this. And it's like we get so much input constantly coming at us. And it looks to me like that we're almost a one topic universe right now. It's like everything is just the same topic. So that's kind of just, no matter where you turn, it's coming at you. And so it looks to me like in our state of mind, we have so much more concentrated focus on this one topic. So even if we're not being directly impacted by the situation, we're being bombarded by information on the situation. Okay. So it's like, it's kind of like we have it our normal life, remember those things they used to do, spinning plates in the air? you know, and you had your work and you had your relationships and you had your living environment and your passions and your pleasures, you know, so you're spinning those 4 or 5 plates. And then all of a sudden a bombardment of a topic of grand proportion concerned is like giving you that many plates, doubling your capacity inside your head. And a large part of it's not even conscious, you know, because we're still doing our life. We're spinning those plates of our life in new ways and new styles of doing it. But it's, to me, it's kind of like a burden to the system, where I'll say a burden to the system, and everybody's system is different. Everybody's system is different, whether it's a burden to the mental system on COVID, if it's a burden to the mental system of I should be doing more, I should be attacking these closets, or I should be doing all these things I wanted to do that I'm not doing. You've got your own plates that you're spinning. That's really the point is, doesn't matter what those plates are. But when you have that many plates spinning and you continually input more and more and more and more and more and more, I feel like it's that old, I don't know, grade school science experiment where you put the rocks in the jar and then you put the sand in the jar, you know, and then you put the water in the jar, and then over time it's just completely full to capacity, and something's got to get taken out of the jar to be able to add something else into the jar. Do y'all remember that experiment? Like just filling up every crevice with data and, you know, and it seems to me like this week it was, I got so mad at the media. I don't even like to watch it much, but I got so mad at the media because it was like, okay, here's all this kind of positive news that things could be getting more into control and capacities better, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, oh, okay, looks like they're going to give, people a little bit of a break. And then it was like, but don't wait, the fall's going to be worse. The fall's going to be worse than right now. And it's like, really, people? Really? You know, can't the news media kind of give a break to the psyche of human beings? So it's like, it's up to us. It's up to us. It's like we've got to learn to really push away from the table when we feel like the input is too much. And it looks to me like, too, like if we could be more vigilant, and I'll say self-care, more caring toward ourselves and the volume of input we let in. Call me crazy, and that wouldn't be the worst thing I've ever been called, but I really feel like the less input, the more spaciousness becomes available. And then you get the option to choose how you want to use that fresh spaciousness. You know, less input, more creating. Less input, more relaxing. Less input, more, I'll say, spaciousness. And so what will happen is it's proven fact that the more spaciousness we have up here, it's easier for us to stay on task. It's easier for us to give our attention to something more completely. Like, doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter what it is. If it's fixing yourself a meal or making the bed or whatever it is, doesn't matter what it is, but you give yourself the opportunity to settle in, to get more absorbed in the moment instead of very surfacey. I think when we stay at that very surfacey, busy mental level, we never really get that break that I was pointing to, like with the news media. We never just unplugged from stuff enough to see what's there, or to see what's possible. And so I think in that place of like, if you find you have an attention span that is absent, I would invite you to get more vigilant on input. And if that sounds like something to entertain, or if it doesn't, that's fine too. But I think the second part would be that in this time where we have so much input, or even our mental state staying on topic, that you can also, give yourself the opportunity to take yourself off the hook. Because we have time doesn't mean you have to attack a bigger to-do list. And can you be in, I'll say more of an autonomous state about what feels right for you. If you have extra time, what feels right for you? Not what looks to be a good idea. Again, less input, listening to what other people are doing in the way of accomplishing things, not accomplishing things. I don't care. It doesn't. That's not it. But that simple place about taking all pressure off the table, all pressure to have something to show for your time during this time where we have I don't know. Some people have an abundance. Some people have a shortage. If I talk to moms with stay-at-home kids, they're like, it's wild what their to-do list is, the massiveness of, and I was kind of calling it the the COVID cosmic joke, that parents should be able to keep up with all those lessons and keep all that stuff going. I was like, that is a COVID cosmic joke. So I think even if you don't have kids at home, that don't fall under the COVID cosmic joke, that you need to do something with this time that's outside what feels right to you. What feels right to you. And no pressure to fill the time. Wouldn't that be great if we had a culture where it says, what'd you do with your time off? I didn't do a thing. Wouldn't that be refreshing? And that wouldn't be a problem. It's like, I have nothing to show for this. And I promise you'll settle in deeper into yourself. You'll be more absorbed in the moment to moment activities. And your stress level is naturally going to be at a lower level, because you're not spinning as many plates. And all those plates seem to have 100% importance on it, regardless of the topic. So kind of I want to hear from you guys, but to summarize that part about, okay, if you start to feel like you're revving too high on the inside, and you kind of feel like you're walking around with your shoelaces tied together, you're getting nowhere fast. I just say, okay, let me just consider the idea of less input about who I need to be, how I need to be, what I need to show for myself, and really give yourself that opportunity to make a richer contact with you and what feels right for you, in a place that you don't have to defend what makes sense to you to anybody at any time. If you're off the employment clock, it's like, yeah, if somebody's writing a check, they're going to want to know what they're giving you, I need to see your billable hours for whatever. But those other times, you get to be the one that really upgrades your autonomy within yourself, and just do what makes sense to you, and be open to what comes to mind. Especially, I think it's a time to hoorah and celebrate if it's something that's not familiar, something brand new, clear out of the blue. I'd get excited about that, not go, what the heck's wrong with you? That doesn't make any sense. Because if it's brand new, fresh, it's gosh, new inspiration coming in. So, so anyway, I'd love to hear from any of you guys if you have a question, and I'd love to talk to you, as many of you as possible. So, would anybody like to share something about that? Oh, let me go with Lee, and I'll come back down to you, Linda.
Yeah, I'm pleased you mentioned the word inspiration. I'm getting inspired to do a million different art projects, from textile art to collage to, I just put up a piece of paper to do intuitive painting because I am not finishing anything. And this is really, for me, frustrating. I usually have such a goal that I know the end product before I've even started it, and I can work towards that. But I'm just getting all these, because it's not happening, the goal kind of isn't there. It's more the journey. It's more figuring it out, and it's just not working. And so that's when I put that down, put that aside, or throw that away, started something else, and that just seems to be what's happening now. And yes, I am using, Google to search this artist, that whatever. So then I get some more ideas. I'm thinking, okay, I won't do that one, even though I love the look of that one, but, oh, this one looks nice here too. And I got to stop Googling all these artists because I'll never get anything done.
That's a real good point. Again, it kind of relates back to input and really settling into yourself. Input, settling
some of the projects are too time consuming. It's like I wanted to have it finished yesterday. And I want to take the time, to do the collage and do the painting, and then I cut out the pieces, and then you got to glue them on, then it's too many steps. So that's why I put up the paper today, and I thought, okay, I'm going to do intuitive painting. Just get the brushes, get the paint, and put it on. And yeah, that's what I just have to do. And
that partly is that trickster that says we need to have outcome. That's another part of this I want you to get onto. That's a trick. You don't have to have outcome. You don't have.
I've always had it, and it's been good for me. It's being good to me to have that. But now I have all the time in the world, and yet I have no time to do it because I'm just messing around,
Messing around can be okay.
It's a little frustrating, but I just have to sort of breathe. So next week we'll see what intuitive painting has happened.
Excellent. And remember, you're in charge of the pressure you live in. There's nobody dictating that.
Oh, I'm so good at doing that. Yeah.
we all can, and we really think there's our mind creates something, a due date, and it really looks like it's a real thing, and it's like, wow. And then we get under the pressure to fulfill it, and it's like, well, wait, I set the due date. It's great and fine to have a due date. It's but can you hold it lightly? If you're enjoying the process, let it take you. Don't let even the idea of a due date. If it feels like it's pressurized and it feels like you're the one in charge, well, it bottom line, if you feel pressure, you are the one in charge.
Doing it to myself as usual. My kids always say, "Mom, doing it to herself again."
Yep. I always say that whenever I think it's a problem outside of me, I'm like, oh my God, it's that one in the mirror one more time, that one in the mirror. Thank you, Lee. Linda.
Okay. Well, I was attracted to this topic because I was like, yes, I have the attention span of a gnat. I'm so glad that somebody else is thinking about that. And, so I with the COVID, I've gone from, because I'm retired and I live alone and I I did not experience the onset of isolation as a big trauma because I do spend a lot of time by myself.
Right.
And I went from, having to stop and think when it was Monday through Friday, because the weekend did often have different things going on than, the weekdays. Now I have to stop and think every day because, there's nothing special happening on the weekend anymore.
Oh, right.
So it's like my whole timeline is just, it's just, it's destroyed. And, just trying to keep myself reminded of the things I do want to do requires and has required, everything to be in the calendar or it just doesn't happen. And it seems like that's even more so, I will, and I have to stop and look twice, 2 or 3 times a day, just to keep track of anything that I do have scheduled on any one day. And now at the moment, I'm embarking on a new relationship, I think. And man, that's like, it's from a gnat to a amoeba in terms of my attention span.
And Linda, I love what you pointed to, Linda, in that, again, our attention span is not related to what's on my calendar. That time is still time, like we talked about in a previous webinar about, wait a minute, my mind can either stay humming high and busy, and that to me is where we can gain some leverage about just kind of leaning back and checking the speed, because it's not even about time now. You can, gosh almighty, you can see how a mind can fixate on any hot topic, and oftentimes on the hot topic, it'll be like, if it was a hot topic before COVID, it's going to be a hot topic now. And it's like, wait a minute, I'm giving way too much bandwidth to ... So in that place of again, if you feel pressure, if you feel too scattered, it's like, give yourself that opportunity to just, I love that. I love the metaphor of like an Etch-a-Sketch. Remember when you're a little kid, the Etch-a-Sketch, and you could do all those great lines? It's like at any point in time, you can shake that Etch-a-Sketch and clear it. And I think that's a great thing to play with in the mind. If you feel like that revving's getting too high, grab it and shake it like the Etch-a-Sketch and just clean the slate. You don't have to keep those same plates in the air, especially if it's just, you're not enjoying the moments of your life.
Yeah.
Just as
I will say one thing. I clearly noticed that, too much of my time and attention has been on media and, and then like binge watching television to take my mind off of things and so on. And so I'm trying to be more aware of that and maybe not let it be quite as out of control. And I actually have set an alarm at 9:30 at night, and that's my signal to turn off the television. And I, if I'm in the middle of an episode, I'll watch, maybe till 10. But I've been actually amazed that I can do that. I can stop. And if I haven't turned on the TV yet at 9:30, my alarm goes off and I go, oh, well, I missed it today. I guess I'll watch something tomorrow. So I'm really feeling like that's taken good care of me, not to, to try to limit that input, that, so that I don't have, especially now with the media about the virus. Oh my God, if you read too much of that, you make yourself crazy. And
to that point, it's like, that's that piece, like what occurs what occurred to Linda, like, okay, I'm just going to set this timer. It's like, you don't have to adopt somebody else's strategies. If you really allow yourself to have a little more free-mindedness, something will occur to you. Back to that, you have the wisdom, you have you're connected to the biggest internet there is. Nobody's got a better broadband connection than you do. And you can allow yourself, if you can just get comfortable with that extra bit of spaciousness without thinking you need to fill it. Give yourself an opportunity to clear your mind. Give yourself the opportunity to just do what makes sense to you. Not try to measure up to somebody else's measuring stick. Your wisdom will kick in and give you something. Like, gosh, I just feel better when I take a walk, I'm so amazed. I'm just loving this, all these online yoga classes, It's like, if you have an hour, click on it. There's a yoga class at every hour of the day. And it's like, just keep the mat out, drop to the mat. I mean, that's what makes sense to me. And I'm just never, that yoga at your fingertips has just occurred to me, and it makes a big difference. But you have that same capacity too. We're not typically comfortable having spaciousness in our head. We just think, because our mind wants to just keep it stuffed like a turkey. But it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to. And again, if in the conversation of being open to kind of getting an internal gut check, about, if you do feel like you're walking with your shoelaces tied, if you are walking into rooms and not knowing why you're there, if you're, if you can't settle into a yoga mat, if you can't even finish an hour yoga without having to finish a meal, finish a conversation, those, for whatever it is for you, it might be an indicator that it's really rhythm, and that that's optional. It is not dictated by the times that we're living in. So anybody else Cherie? You're muted.
And if the guy grinding outside with his weed or is too loud, let me know. So I would like to look at what it is like when we're in it, focused, and when we're not. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that I've ever seen it more like it can just go and I lose all my ability and I'm all over the place, or I'm just like, whoa, It's really very extreme on both ends of that. And part of it is that I just feel like I have a brand new smorgasbord of things to occupy myself with that are as much quality as the fact I notice every week I want to be here with you, or that we painted last weekend for 2 days. Oh my God, you guys. It was just so rich. So there's these new longings for things, and this is how we now connect and relate to the world. This is how it's through Zoom, we're with our family, it's through Zoom, we're with our friends. There's so many wonderful courses, and it's never been juicier. Like, so you say hatha yoga, and I'm like, oh my God, why would I have time for that? So to me, the key word that I wrote down is keeping spaciousness, that word spaciousness. Mm. So like the other day I woke up and I'd had a bad night of sleep. So I have to now look at everything that feeds that creates a bad night of sleep for me. Like too much media before I go to bed, all kinds of stuff. Because I really have a hard time going to sleep at night now. So if I wake up and I'm short a brick of energy and I'm still yawning for 2 hours, I'm in trouble. And I just can't, I'm like a whole different person. And I'm brought back into stuff I dealt with as a child. that needs healing, that needs work. I'm very clear of that girl. I used to know her. Oh yeah, she could not get the assignments done on time. She was always being told by the teacher, quit looking out the window, you know, all of that. That is part of who I am.
Does that burden your mind or does it free you?
So when it's happening, it is like, you know, how the hell do I get out of this? And,
okay, how do you?
Okay, so start there, because a lot of it is, that's when you have to let go. You have to let go and say, stop all agenda. Just say whatever.
I'll say that when the kind of the wildfire of the mind gets rolling, you know, it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I really want you to see that wildfire is benign.
Yeah.
You know,
maybe even helpful on some level we don't understand.
Well, it's just completely benign because it's like, if you look hardcore at the present moment, the stuff that our mind can concern us with is not happening.
Oh.
But it can rob the oxygen out of the air.
Yes.
You know, and get to be, golly, if we let the mind, if we really, I'll say, if we look to the mind to be our spiritual compass of what needs to be worked on.
That's right.
it will have plenty of material to load up. You know, it will give us turkey platters to spin instead of just.
Oh, got it. And also in those moments when it doesn't feel like there's enough time, enough energy, enough, any enough of anything, we can clearly go into our fight or flight response to all of it. So there we are trying to go, if we can just come up with a better to-do list, we'll get out of this. No, it doesn't work.
No.
And before you know it, we're exhausted from something we should never be exhausted from.
Right. From entertaining, and that's where it kind of gets us. We entertain so much input externally, and we entertain so much, I'll say, input of our own mind kind of peppering us with that. It's like, in this moment, right here in this moment, it might be pay that bill in this moment.
Or it might be, I just might be wasting this day. Look at this, you know?
So what?
Because I mean, it was so desperate that whole morning. It was like, this might be it. This day just might mean, so what? It's like what do you call it? Put it in the pile of so whats or something.
Yeah, put it in the pile of so whats.
Put it in the pile of so whats.
But
you know,
but in that other part, Trudy, what you could see is like when that gets so buzzing, you know, that bzzz gets so buzzing and so convincing, and we feel all of that busy-mindedness, you know, our body will be flooded with the feeling of it. So we think it's real. We think it's the voice of truth because it comes with a feeling.
There you go. That actually bears repeating. Something becomes the voice of, we think it's something that's the voice of our truth because we feel it. Good one, Cherie. That's powerful. That's a real powerful thing just to pause on for a second for me. Hope it is for everyone else too. Because that's what happens. And every time, even just go to the news, for example, we're being asked, think about this, think about this, think about this. You know, what do you think about this?
Right.
Here's some more input. What do you think about it? And we've never had anything like that before. That think about, you feel like you have to think about it because it affects you. It all affects you.
But it's the input. It's the input that is having the bigger effect on you than Corona. You know,
I completely.
State of mind is what's bringing that. I'll say affect, because if you're not ill, illness would be the effect of Corona, but the affect is going to be coming. Affect being the feeling state you live in is going to be coming from this.
Right.
And so, really, the antidote. The antidote.
Antidote was the word I was hoping you'd go to. That's what I was about to ask you. Good job.
How funny. How funny. But the antidote to that is like really just stop and do what's in front of you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I don't think we've ever had a third force that is more potent. Therefore, I can get excited about that. That just says, be in this moment. What is the best next action right now?
Or
And
even just finish the action you're in. I'll say
it's the metaphor of your painting and the way that you teach it, or Michelle teaches. It's that same thing. One paintbrush, one color, blank piece of paper. Every moment's like that in our lives.
Yeah.
And yet, I will say this. I have noticed lately, haven't done it, but my longing to have more boundaries, because I went the other day, so what if I gave myself permission to say, I have one day a week where I don't do nothing.
Nice.
Let it
What
be.
happens?
Maybe I might even read, like what, and anything that wants to come in can, but nothing that I feel obligated to do. And then I might choose whatever days that I work on this project that I'm working on, because it is helping me get in touch with my purpose in life. So it's really potent in that way. I love it, actually. But it can take over every day if I'm not careful. But and then maybe, I don't know what happens to those other, you start realizing, man, I got seven of these things. Clean house maybe on one of them, because our house isn't getting clean.
But I like that part, Trudy, is like, if you, what occurred to you, just like Linda getting the 9:30 alarm on her TV, if it occurred to you, that could be the tap on the shoulder, that could be the sprouting seed of, and I always say that's like a tap on the shoulder. The same thing that sprouts a seed is going to give us this inspiration, these taps on the shoulder about, well, what if I did just set aside one whole day?
Right.
And see what the current of the day wants to take me, and
and
let all that other stuff go on by, because that stuff is always going to be there, but we can relate.
That's so telling when I think about the fact that we've been doing this now about 2 months, and we haven't done that yet. Had a day where we give permission. It's not like it doesn't happen, because it does, but where you just totally say, whoa.
Very consciously.
Yeah, consciously give it permission. So that's a huge antidote. Let some other people talk, but thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Trudy. Thank you. Anybody else? Beth. Let me unmute you, Beth. There you go. Okay.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a really good topic, talking about inspiration and the media, because to me, those two just don't go along hand in hand.
Yeah.
Because
we're muted again, right?
Right before all this started, something in me told me, you need to get a pair of running shoes. And the family needs to get a pair of running shoes, whoever wants one, because I just felt like I needed an escape plan. And the escape plan was going to put my running shoes on and go hike, go walk, go run, or do whatever, right? And so some people in the family chose to come with us and get some, and some people didn't. But let me tell you, listening to that inspiration, and it wasn't anything I read. The media didn't tell me to do it. It was me. It was that deep place inside of me, that knowing place, that, okay. And I'm so glad that I honored that, because it's so funny, because my shoes, I look at them and they're my freedom. They're my bluebirds of happiness, because they're the same color as bluebirds. So every morning I put on my bluebirds and I go and I run, I go and I walk, I go and I hike, and I'm grateful for the time, and I'm grateful that I listened to that. And also, I know with the media, I like to be, I'll watch it a little bit just to get a gist, because sometimes if I don't, I think, this isn't real. I can't believe that I forget what's happening, and that there's people out there suffering, and that there are people, their reality is they're suffering, they're sick, and they have family losing their lives. So I like to touch into that, to know that there's my reality is this, and this is how I'm experiencing it. but there's other people. There's a reason why this is happening, because there are people who are sick. There are people who are dying. So I have to respect that, and trust that the people who know and who can see the things that are going on are addressing those issues. And in the meantime, I will continue to listen to the inspiration. And it's so funny because the other thing that I'm feeling moved to do is starting to pick up the paintbrush again. And now, you know, Cherie, I've talked to you a couple of times about wanting to paint at home. Well, that inspiration is there. And I too thought, I had this knowingness too, that I can look at it and see what other people are doing, and I can look at beautiful artwork. And I know that that inspiration is going to come within me. I don't have to go and look at others to get that inspiration.
Absolutely.
My work in this whole thing is to be quiet or do whatever I need to do, that trust that that whole universe, that energy is moving, and the possibilities, like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be in that negative energy, although I can get down into it and be like, oh, this is what's happening. I want to be where it's flowing, and that's what I get when I'm inspired. And I also learned that with my to-do list with work, it's going to be persevering. You know, I'm going to have to persevere, and just no judgment, just, okay, I got to get this done. And okay, I'll get it done. And
we did the same thing with taxes, you know.
Yeah.
We don't, you know, I don't know anybody that looks forward to filing their taxes, but we just, at some point, you resolve yourself to get it done and move on, get back to the good stuff, you know, or even not even the good stuff, just get back to other stuff, not even making one better than the other. It's just at different times, things require our attention, and that doesn't have to be a problem too.
Yeah. So
thank you, Beth.
So bring on the paintbrush.
Come on, girl. Yeah, Marcia.
Sorry to double dip.
Just don't put the same chip in the dip, okay?
That's what we call it in AA, double dipping. I'm so inspired by what people are saying, because it's funny, when I worked and had activities every weeknight, I had a million things to do, and I would do them, and I got off on checking all the things. And now, like, the only thing I've had to do for like the past month is do this census thing, and I'm not doing it. And I've got like 4 threatening letters from them. Like, it would take me 5 minutes to go on. It's like I have nothing to do. I don't make myself do anything, but I did get a lot out of what people said about watching the news. Like, I'm on like 30 minutes and that's it, you know, because I start getting really mad, or I get really sucked in, but what the lady said about the running shoes, I felt really inspired. I used to ride a moped scooter, and since Austin is so crowded now, I've been wanting to ride a scooter. And they have these app-based ones. So I kept looking at them and thinking, oh, I want to ride one of those. It's been 15 years, and I finally downloaded the app, and I've been riding the scooters around in the ghost town that is awesome. It's just so joyful. And I know I should be doing something creative or writing.
I don't know that. Why I don't know that. Why you want to drink the Kool-Aid on that? I don't know that. See, I don't think it's helpful to any of us to make a better thing than doing the moped app, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm grinning ear to ear the whole time on it. I'm honking at people. They're waving at me. It's mostly just homeless people, because that's who's hanging out, and it's great. But it costs like $15 every time I ride. I'm like, what else have I got to spend money on, you know? So.
Yeah, that and groceries and internet, that's about it.
Okay, I'm done.
Thank you, Marcia. Anybody that hasn't spoken that would like to speak in our last couple of minutes?
I'll say something.
Gina, where are you? Oh, there you are. Yeah, you're kind of in the dark over there.
I know, it's dark in here. Am I unmuted?
Yep, you're unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I'm having a problem, like, because I have borderline OCD. So I'm like starting stuff and I get a big mess going on. And then I'm like, oh, I don't want to do so. That's where I'm at there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then another thing I wanted to say about the media thing. I watched a TED Talk, and I don't know what it was about. I mean, I can't remember which one it was, but it said that, because I was watching a lot of news, and, you know, I was just getting conflicting stories here and there. And so spending a lot of time on my phone, just all kinds of media.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then when I saw this TED Talk, it said that basically, you know, it made me stop because we are their product. It said we are their product, like a video game or Facebook or news, like we're the product. So that made me step back and think, you know, I downloaded this app that's called Moment on my phone, and it tells you how much screen time you have a day. So I get notifications all day, like you pick up your phone 20 times, you picked up your phone 30 times. So, but the idea of being a product for somebody else just kind of turned me off to the whole, like, I'll watch it at night and catch up on it, but I'm not going to just dwell on it because, I mean, that just totally, I can't even describe how that made me feel, like that I'm a product.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? And that's so interesting because it's in that land, it is getting them to get you to engage. That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I never thought about it that way. I just, you know, but when I watched that, I was like, wow, you know, I was like, I don't need to be doing that so much because, like, I don't like feeling like a product.
Right. Right.
I mean, I just didn't like that feeling.
Yeah.
So I totally understand about the media. Everybody's mentioned the media. So
yeah,
that's pretty much all I have.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you. So to that point about input, I think that's a great thing if you're concerned about your attention span. The second part about just allow yourself to not take the bait of the mind every time it offers something up. You know, I kind of laughed at that recently, like, you know, electric toothbrush is 2 minutes. And it's so funny. I watch my mind and it's like, you don't have time for this. You don't have time for this. I'm like, really? 2 minutes with an electric toothbrush? You know, how much it injects even 2 minutes with an electric toothbrush. So and allow yourself to really take any shoulds or supposed to's off the table, and you've got it. You have your own wisdom. Give yourself permission to really drop in what makes sense to you. We heard so many great suggestions about kind of shining a light on these taps on the shoulder. We think the mind thinks it's meaningless, whatever, you know, but it's fascinating to me how if we take these taps on the shoulder and if it's fresh and new, it's like, why not do it? And then you'll see if it bears fruit later on. Like, you know, to that point, it's like last fall, I got really, really inspired to set up all this virtual stuff, you know, and little did I know, it's like, okay. It's like, so going virtual is no big deal because I'm already in the midst of doing it, but I didn't have a clue why I did it. I just said, you know, I like to follow inspirations, just especially if they're fresh and new and not familiar, just to see where it takes me. May bear fruit, may not bear fruit. And then to also, maybe this is time for you to really drop into yourself and listen to yourself. Let the deepest part of you be your source of input, not external forces, not external sources, but really dropping into you and seeing what your wisdom is offering up for you. And it's there. I just want to be the proclaim that it's in there. You have your own wisdom. It's in there. Don't listen to the mind thinking you don't. You need to listen to somebody else's ideas. Like, no. And I'm saying, don't take anything I say either. Just drop in and see what makes sense to you. Take my word for nothing. But this time could be such a real sweet time to drop into you underneath all that rough water of thought on the surface.